All right, so this one isn't going to be a 5-part show because we don't have that many interesting cap droppers, and I don't actually have Sunday's data in yet. So the ones we're looking at, not great. Although I'd say Giddy we're getting close on since he's playing limited minutes right now, getting into the mid-30s, could drop lower. That's somebody I'm at least keeping an eye on. There really isn't anybody else here that I'm all that interested in. Towns doesn't look like himself right now. 33 is really low for him, but you know that already. I'm not breaking any new ground here, so we're going to skip over this. I've got everything updated. As of now, it is currently 10:55 Eastern on Sunday night. I'm going to do this now because I'm supposed to work tomorrow morning. I may get pushed later. We do have a couple of early games, so I'll be with you part of the way up until lock, and we may not know much about the night games by the time the early games lock anyway this week, so it's going to be a tough one. And we've got trades possibly happening. It's just, there's a lot of stuff going on right now. So let's start breaking it down. First, by value, Jalen Green popping up as the best value here. I don't like this at all. Injury status says out. He played 4 minutes and couldn't continue last game with the same hamstring. I can't play him. I can't play him this week. I don't know if he's going to play or not. Brooklyn and Detroit, decent matchups. I guess if you wanted to roll the dice, if he's all you got, I just can't recommend it. The point per minute is inflated. The standard deviation is inflated. I don't think he's actually the best play on the board. Alex Sarr, on the other hand, I like him. 1.29 points per minute, and of course he's played more than 4 games like Jalen Green. He's played 35 games, so we've got a big sample size here. You've got Portland, and then you got a Milwaukee team that looks like they've completely given up. Sarr, of course, plays for a bad team, but he's their best player. 1.29 is really impressive for a point per minute. You're looking at like Brunson's 1.2, the guy who's putting up huge numbers like Jalen Johnson, 1.36. It's all the blocks that Alex Sarr gets that really inflate his numbers. But of course, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for guys that can get us those extra points. He's getting 34 minutes expected. I think that's plenty at a 31 L10. Very nice play here with those two teams coming up. He's not getting traded. Some advantageous matchups, both at home. So I would definitely recommend Alex Sarr. You've got Jalen Johnson for 3 coming up in the 3rd spot of the value meter. Indiana, and then a back-to-back at Boston, and then at home for Houston. I don't know what to tell you about Jalen Johnson. He's been up and down, but more up than down the last couple of games. Seems to have digested the C.J. McCollum trade. C.J. McCollum may be taking a back seat now, so that would be a good thing. 1.36 points a minute. This is fringe superstar level. 39 minutes. I mean, he's playing huge minutes every night. Triple-double machine. High end in the upper 60s, so at a 42, I think you can definitely work him into your lineups. Kyle Kuzma, I just didn't want to play him, and then his last game was actually pretty good. At Philly, they haven't been playing much defense. And then you've got Washington. Now, this is the second game of the week, so Philly has a back-to-back with Charlotte, and then they play the Bucks. I know Embiid and Paul George is sitting out this Charlotte game tomorrow. That means they'll be back most likely for the Bucks. And then Kuzma returns to Washington, kind of a revenge game. Obviously, no Giannis. There's going to be more expected of him. 0.86 a minute. He's been so underwhelming this year. He's just really hard to trust, but the 18 L10 is super low for a guy who's going to have an increased role. The minutes are there. I think you got to play him, whether you want to or not. 43.27 for a ceiling, and the floor being above the L10 is just your indicator that it's kind of a must play, whether you want to or not, unfortunately. And he'll probably stink and let us down, but there's a chance at least that enough people don't like him, or if you play him and he comes up with a decent performance, you will be out ahead of the curve. Steph Curry, they said he is probable. He wants to play tomorrow in the second game of this road doubleheader with Minnesota. Of course, we had a game pushed. More violence in Minneapolis. It's a scary time up here. Hopefully he goes tomorrow, but if he doesn't, I definitely think he'll go in Utah, and even in one game. Curry against a Utah team that just doesn't guard is a recipe for a decent score. 41 L10, low enough where you can definitely play Curry. 1.35, he's still doing it at a high level. 33 minutes. So you may get 2 shots. Probably will get 2 shots. Might just be 1, but it'd be 1 good one at Utah. Andre Drummond. I don't think he played at all last game. But, of course, with Embiid sitting on Monday, expect him to get some minutes against Charlotte. Charlotte doesn't have the really dominant big men, so expect Drummond to grab a bunch of boards, probably play in the mid-20s in minutes. Looks like he got him for 24, and he's pretty effective when he's in there scoring points. 1 good enough to get you something, and at that 16 L10, I think you can play Drummond here. Of course, Embiid back and playing well, and that might be the only minutes he gets. So you may only get 1 shot at this, but probably worth a crack at 16. Jalen Brunson got a back-to-back, Sacramento and at Toronto. Knicks need wins right now. They've been struggling. Brunson's got to step up. Sacramento's a good matchup. At Toronto, not as good, but still a decent proving ground here for Brunson at a 33 L10. I don't think there's any reason not to play him. 1.2 a minute. Big minutes. Yep, get him in there if you got one. Cole Anthony didn't get his second game because of the storm trapping in Dallas. That was unfortunate. He did put up a 23 in his first game. I was kind of hoping for more than that. L10 only went up to 8, so you can play him again. Got Washington on Thursday, Philly on Tuesday. I think he's worth a look. 19 minutes seems like a low-end estimate. That's about what he played last game, but I think he could play more. One of these games, he'll just be hot. Doc will just leave him in there and let him run the show, and he'll play 30, and he'll put you up a 45 or something like that. 8 L10. Got to work Cole Anthony in there. Kawhi, only one game, but it's in Utah. Is he going to play? I think so. Kawhi's been really good. 1.43 points a minute. That is just excellent. 35 minutes. He just knocks down those mid-range shots. 50 L10. So this would be like a P or a secondary MVP play. Some risk here, obviously, with the one game and with his injury history, but I think if you got a Kawhi, you can probably run him out there. LaMelo finishes your top 10. Actually, he's 9th, I think. But 3 games for LaMelo. You got Philly at home, and then at Memphis, at Dallas. So he probably plays one of these two. Maybe plays both. He's been scoring well. He hasn't necessarily been playing well, but he's been scoring well. 1.4 a minute. You can see he's almost at Kawhi's level of scoring. Now, the minutes aren't the same. He's probably more like 30. They've been bringing him off the bench sometimes. 35 L10, though, for LaMelo is good enough to get him out there, especially with 3 shots at it. He can put you up at 60. So I think you want to have him in there somewhere. This brings us to the guy I've been talking up here, Ryan Rollins. Now, we thought we were going to get a game today, and we were going to see what his L10 would drop to. So it looks like it should drop. He's got a big one coming off. Philly and Washington, so 2 matchups. Big minutes for Rollins. Now you've got Giannis and KPJ both out. He might be the Bucks' best player going right now. 1.05 a minute is a little above average. That's pretty good. 30 L10. With this upgrade in usage, he was a 32.5% usage with those 2 guys off the floor. So expect good things out of Ryan Rollins the next couple weeks here. I think this is the start of his run. The L10 is actually going to shrink a little bit, I think, in the coming game week. So not this one, obviously, but the one after next weekend. So this might be a good time to pick up a Ryan Rollins or 2. I think they're still fairly affordable. At least the classics are only a couple dollars. So I think he'll be a popular play by next weekend. Kelly Oubre, obviously going to get minutes tomorrow with Embiid and Paul George both out. Looks like he's back to playing pretty much full time here. 36 expected. 0.84 is not great, but Kelly Oubre is a guy who can get hot from 3. You've got 22 for an L10, so that range of 18.9 to 43.7 makes that 22 very playable, especially with 3 cracks at it. Şengün gets 3 cracks. Memphis, the Spurs, and at Atlanta. 38 L10 for Şengün is playable level for him. He will get you somewhere between 29 and 60, and hopefully on the higher end one of these days. Seems like he's been having some down games. I think he's struggling with his outside shot a little bit. Got to get some confidence back, but he's certainly capable of big numbers. Good passer, good scorer, he can rebound, and he has to rebound a little more without Steven Adams. I've got Luka. I don't have to tell you much about Luka. 58 out of 10. You're going to play Luka if you've got one. Valanciunas is back. Minutes look like 25. That might be a little high. Guess we'll see. I feel like he doesn't probably play that much, but I'm usually wrong, and RotoWire is usually right, so that's why we trust them. 1.25 a minute, though. He's productive when he's out there. 18 L10 puts him in that 23 to 40 range with if he can get 25 minutes, and obviously at an 18 L10, if the floor is 23, that's a play. Anybody else interesting? I don't have to tell you much about SGA, James Harden, or Wemby. I think you probably play them if you've got them. Those would be P-ish type players in the mid-40s, so you can work them along with someone else. Or in a pinch, I suppose you could play them as your MVP. I got Will Richards' point per minute is pretty low. It's 23. Only an 11 L10, though, so we're looking at a range of 9 to 32, and at 11. I like Cole Anthony a little better, but I think Will Richard is playable, especially with game in you. And you got Portis, of course, filling in for Giannis, and we usually try to play him when he does. Let's stop there for the values, and let's move on to some injury news and possible replacements. Injury reports for today. Indiana may get Benedict Mathurin back. Been fighting a thumb injury for the last couple weeks. Maybe this is why he wasn't playing well before he went out with this injury. If he comes back and looks anything like himself, that would be a great sign for the Pacers. Obviously, they need all the help they can get. 25 minutes on his minute restriction, it looks like right now. He'll be coming off the bench. This does take some minutes away from TJ McConnell, probably Ben Shepard. Doesn't affect a whole lot yet, but when he gets ramped up into the starting lineup, obviously there'll be more minutes coming off of these players. Let's see what he looks like today. I wouldn't play him this week. Porzingis and Risache both out for Atlanta. Minutes shape up like this. We've got Kispert starting, but only playing like 15. McCollum coming off the bench, playing a bigger role. Kennard actually in the 20s. When everybody's this healthy, I don't know if there are really any huge advantages here. We'll take a look at the on-off quick. All right, so with these players off, I've taken off Trae Young as well. He's been traded, obviously. You're looking at NAW and Jalen Johnson and CJ McCollum all in the upper 20s of usage. Biggest jump goes to NAW. Sheet would tell you that Jalen Johnson is your best play on the Hawks, and I would agree. 42 L10, low enough where you can fit him in sometimes with another MVP, and he can certainly score you into the high 60s in 3 games. I think you got a decent shot at a good week from Jalen Johnson. We go to the Sixers. We know that Embiid and Paul George are out today. It's look like this. You've got Drummond starting. I don't think Drummond played at all last game. So with Embiid playing more minutes, Drummond's minutes have dried up. Of course, he gets a chance to play today. He should be fresh, 24 minutes. And of your Philadelphia guys, he's going to be your best option today. It looks like 3 games this week. Drummond may only play in this one here against Charlotte if Embiid ends up going against Milwaukee and then against Sacramento. But I think it's a good enough opportunity where you can give him a shot. Kelly Oubre also a nice play here with those 2 out. Looks like he's going to get big minutes. And he hasn't been real productive, but certainly capable of getting hot. 22 L10s low enough to give him a shot as well. Looking at the usage numbers without Embiid and George on the floor, Maxey over 32. That's obviously very good. You could probably use him as your MVP this week. He's been popping for big games, and of course he's got an opportunity today to be the absolute primary scorer here. All right, Charlotte looks like this. LaMelo back in the starting lineup. Not getting as many minutes as he used to. Trying to keep him from getting hurt again, I'm sure. Sexton is probable. Expect him to go. Going to be without Plumlee and Simpson, but everybody else pretty much healthy here. I don't think these 2 guys really move the needle at all. As far as value is concerned on Charlotte, it's LaMelo. Even at the 30 minutes, the 1.4 points per minute, high enough. Give you a big advantage here with LaMelo when he's this low. 29 for a floor, so with a 30 L10, that's an obvious play if you ask me, and especially with the 3 opportunities this week. I'm sure he'll be finding his way into a lot of lineups. Franz is out for Orlando, so what does that mean for us? Minutes break down like this. So you've got your main 3 scorers here on Orlando. That's Ben Carroll, Bane, and Black. Wendell Carter starts, gets about 30. And it looks like Suggs is going to be back, 25. They're going to have to obviously monitor his minutes. They don't want him continually getting hurt. 5 off the bench here, but lesser minutes for Silva, Penda, Richardson, Mo Wagner, and Bataze. If we look at the Magic with pretty much everybody healthy except Franz, got, well, very small sample size for Mo Wagner, but he's been very aggressive. 32.8. That's a pretty high usage number for him, more than I would expect. Ben Carroll up in the high 20s, so nobody over 30 other than Mo. And without his brother on the floor, he's got a giant usage jump. Goes from about 10 to 32. So take that for what it's worth. I don't think I would run out to play Mo Wagner, but maybe he has a good game. Cheat doesn't love anybody on Orlando. Black and Bane right next to each other here in the list, but pretty far down. And just 2 games, both on the road. Cleveland and Miami. Both these guys are 31s right now. I'd say that's pretty low for Bane. But then again, he hasn't put up a big game in a while. That's why that L10 is lowered to this level. Probably avoiding Orlando here. Cleveland's a dumpster fire. I don't know what happened to DeAndre Hunter. L10's dropping lower. I think he's going to 17. That's a guy that used to put up big games here and there. I don't know what's really going on with him. Questionable today. If he would miss, I think you'd be looking at more backcourt minutes for guys like Craig Porter and maybe even more Lonzo Ball. Proctor seems to play quite a bit when he gets the opportunity. Mitchell and Mobley, Allen and Tyson around 30, Dean Wade, 25. There's nothing exciting about this team. Garland and Strus still out. Let's take a look. Is there anything interesting usage-wise with Garland and Strus out? Mitchell, we know, has high usage all the time, 33.4. Can certainly always play him. No real big jumps, though, other than Proctor. So Proctor might be in play here. He's scheduled for 0 minutes, but if Hunter and Merrill can't go, I think he does get some run. And that's a big jump. And 22.5, so the usage is above league average in this situation. And I believe he has a very low L10. Yeah, he's a 5. So he won't project on the sheets, but this would be a flyer play for you for sure, especially in this situation. Don't think we get information on these starters or on these players, on these injuries until after lock. But if you want to take a flyer on Tyrese Proctor, that he's going to get in the game, get some minutes, and they'd be fairly productive minutes. There should be some to go around. 5L10. Could work a lineup around him. All right, so Portland has Avija questionable, Robert Williams questionable,
Still without Scoot, Chris Murray, Reith, Tybalt, Wesley. So lots of injuries out in Portland. None bigger than Avija. Those 33 minutes have to go somewhere. Who steps up with Avija out? And it's a lot of Shaden Sharp. 35.7 usage is off the charts for Shaden Sharp. He's always a play when Avija is out, in my opinion. Drew Holiday being back is interesting, but he's still on that low minutes restriction right now. I think we probably have to stay away from him right now, but his L10 should be lowering as he has these low minute games as he ramps up, and that'll be somebody I'll be watching going forward. He was really good at the start of the season. Sheet actually has Klingon as your best option here. Of course, they're assuming Avija plays right now. Back-to-back, Boston and Washington. Klingon's been bringing down a lot of rebounds, playing pretty well. 30 estimated minutes. He's a 33 L10. I think he's in play, but further down the list. I would say if we get news on Avija being out, or if you just want to gamble that Avija is going to be out, Sharp is probably your play here. Boston maybe without Keta, starting center, 26 minutes. Sounds like he's just battling an illness. Minot up to questionable. He's been out for a couple weeks, it feels like. So they may be a little small. Just fine for Boston. They like to play a lot of guards anyway and play fast. Could be a decent opportunity for Simon if they go with more guard-centric lineups. Of course, Garza can fill in at the 5 spot. And if they don't have Keta today, Jaylen Brown, 38% usage. Of course, that's pretty normal for him. He's just a super high usage player on this team. Who jumps without Keta? It's Garza and Xavier Tillman. I don't know how much Xavier Tillman you'd get anyway, but Garza certainly becomes an option. But at a 19 L10, probably still a little high for my liking. Sheet's favorite for Boston is Derek White. 37 L10 is probably still a little high. 0.14, certainly capable of big games. He's got a couple of decent matchups, both at home. We haven't seen him last time he put up a really big game. That's probably a week ago against the Spurs. So he does pop for games in the 50s and 60s here and there. And 2 decent matchups. So I can see it. But again, most of the time, I think that's probably when Jaylen Brown is out that Derek White lets his offense take over. Otherwise, he would defer. A couple more games here. The Lakers are in Chicago. LaRavia questionable. Reeves should be back soon, but he's still out. So if LaRavia can't go, that's a guy who's starting and playing about 30 minutes. Doesn't normally do a whole lot, but he is out there. Opens up some minutes for everybody else. So let's see who the main beneficiaries are if LaRavia and Reeves would both be out. And of course, Luka's usage up near 40. LeBron over 30, so he's definitely in play. Biggest jump goes to Dalton Knecht and Gabe Vincent. Not sure you can really trust either of them. Knecht, not expected to play at all. Vincent, just 15 minutes, so maybe a little of Vincent. 9 L10, but as you can see, normally doesn't have enough scoring punch to really give you much. Luka's probably your best MVP candidate this week, and LeBron should be in play, but 47, pretty high for him. As far as Chicago goes, Trey Jones is going to be out a little bit. Zach Collins still out. Giddey is back. It looks like he's working through that minute restriction. He's still got him under 30. He's played pretty well since coming back, but of course they don't want him getting re-injured, so I think they're going to be careful with him for a little bit. Bulls play about 8 guys in that 25 and up range, but nobody like huge minutes right now without Trey Jones and Zach Collins. We've got some small raises in usage for some guys, but not enough to really move the needle. You're looking at Kobe White as your primary scorer here right now. 26.4 though, still fairly low. Giddey 24.4, so not a lot to love here on the Bulls at this point in time. Sheet's favorite is Kobe White. 3 games, though, for the Bulls, so it's an interesting week. If you can get over 30, 25 L10 still low enough where I think you can try Kobe White here. I'm a little concerned he doesn't play both of the back-to-back. They've been holding him out here and there just to keep him fresh. All right, so we get to Memphis, and the bad news is that after that nice game in London, John Morant has apparently sustained an elbow injury and will be reevaluated in about 3 weeks. Pretty par for the course at this point with him. That's unfortunate. He just cannot stay healthy, can't stay on the floor. Projected minutes here, we've got Aldama questionable. I thought his knee injury was pretty minor because he looked good in the international games. And then when he came back, he was questionable and sat out. Then he sat out again. Now he's still questionable. So maybe this knee injury's worse than we thought. But, of course, he hasn't been immediately ruled out or anything. I think him missing time actually helps Jock Landale. I know we've got some Jock Landale fans in the group. 28 minutes for Landale would be quite a few, but he's been playing pretty well. He's been putting up some big scores. This gives him a chance to grab even more rebounds because Aldama's one of their better rebounders on the team. A guy like Coward might get some more rebounds as well. So let's see how this falls into play without Morant, without Aldama, and without Edey. Those are the 3 main guys missing here. And no real huge, advantageous jumps here with these guys out. G.G. Jackson may be the most interesting. He's over the league average usage at 21.6 in this situation. Of course, Jaren Jackson, 27. I'm surprised to see Coward this low. I wish he was a little more aggressive, but he's a rookie. He'll probably get there. Landale, not a high usage guy, but this is an opportunity for him. I don't love anybody here on Memphis looking at this. And the first guy the sheet pulls is Cam Spencer, 25 L10. Seems a little high for a player that I don't think is that talented, honestly. 1.06 a minute is pretty decent. Obviously, he's a point guard, so he can distribute, get a few extra points from those assists, and they're going to need him. I guess if you're in a pinch, you could throw him out there. I don't love it. Houston, going to be without Steven Adams, of course. Van Fleet's been out all year. Aaron Holiday's been having back issues. Apparently, he's up to probable. And Houston plays their starters a lot of minutes, and their bench not nearly as much. So we're 9 deep, but the bench guys just kind of filling in here and there. The starters playing most of the game. So let's see how Adams out affects the Rockets. He's been out a couple games now. What do they look like with him off the floor? And it's Durant and Şengün, as you'd expect. Big usage jump for Capella because he pretty much didn't play at all when Adams was healthy. And the usage still isn't big. It's just bigger than nothing. Shepard's had some decent games, but they're hit and miss. He needs to get hot in order to have a good game, and it doesn't always happen. A little surprising to see Amen's usage under that league average 20% mark. He's on the floor so much, but he's still able to score. It's a matter of him getting some blocks and steals. Nothing real exciting here. Sheet's favorite Rocket is Şengün. Got that L10 down under 40. 34 minutes, 1.27 minutes. Still very good. He hasn't had the year, I don't think, that I expected. I thought he'd be putting up bigger numbers than this. But the games are still there. You'll still see him pop for 50s and 60s every so often. And at a 38 L10, I think you can try him. 3 games this week. Got a couple of chances at a couple cracks at it. As far as Golden State goes, looks like Curry is fine. He should play. Kuminga's going to be out. So all that speculation that, hey, he's finally going to get time, and then he got hurt. So we've got Curry at 33 and Golden State going deep into the bench here. Second of a back-to-back in Minnesota. No travel involved, so this is better than some back-to-backs. But I would think this could be a sluggish game between these two teams. They did put it as a really late start, especially for a game in this time zone. So 8:30 local time start. Kuminga being out obviously doesn't change much. So we've got Steph at a pretty high usage here, and then DeAnthony Melton's actually been playing really well. He's at a 30% usage in this situation without Butler, Curry, or Kuminga. Let's take a look here. Butler being out obviously is what we want to look at. What we're trying to figure out. Not Steph Curry, Seth Curry, and Kuminga. So obviously Steph picking it up, but Melton at 30.4 and an 8.8% jump in usage since with Butler off the floor. This is the kind of stuff I'm looking for. Curry pops as an excellent play this week. 41 L10, 1.36 point per minute. So still putting up big numbers. They've got Utah on Wednesday, and obviously that's a game that anybody can go off in. Of course, you're always worried about a blowout with Utah, but Utah's been playing a little bit better lately, a little more competitive. Their younger guys are starting to step up a little bit. Ace Bailey's actually had some good games, but off topic. 41 L10 for Curry. You can go in the 60s for sure. Will Richard, Moody, Healed, Post. How far till we get to Melton here? Spencer Davis, Peyton, Pajemski. Where is he? Green, Santos. There he is. Why wouldn't he have any minutes? Do they know something I don't? 0 minutes. Why? So he played yesterday, but he is actually going to sit on Monday. So he's not marked out, but he is out. That would be why he has 0 minutes. 22 points in 23 minutes. He's been productive. I like him. Last bunch of games here. We've had some in the upper 30s. Not as good a game yesterday. And now he's going to sit out. It's only 1 game for Melton. That's unfortunate. But it's going to be Utah. And if there's somebody who can have a good game against Utah, it might be him. What's our L10 at? 26. Well, is the upside there? That's what you have to ask yourself. And probably not at 26. Yep, probably avoiding him. So it's Curry and then everybody else. And there will be some opportunity to go around today with Melton out for some of the other guys like Will Richard, Pajemski. Just went through those guys, but let's see here. Will Richard is coming up as the next best option here. If he can get 23 minutes at an 11. Moses Moody, he's still around 20, so he should get some extra run. Even a guy like Buddy Hield finally playing with Butler out. 19 L10 seems kind of high for him the way he's been playing this year. And Post, I don't trust to actually get minutes. Played 4 minutes the other night or so. There will be some peripheral guys that get in there today with Melton out, but I don't know how high to set the expectations, so I'd probably still avoid. And that brings us to Minnesota. Now, Minnesota coming off another awful loss yesterday to Golden State. They're going to get another crack at him today. Edwards did all right numbers-wise yesterday, but the team just looked terrible. Their minutes are, this is a strange-looking minute chart here. Shannon doubtful, but otherwise pretty healthy, and Shannon hasn't really played anyway. Big minutes for the starters and Naz Reid, and then little minutes for everybody else. Everybody's saying the Wolves need a point guard. They need to trade for a point guard. I don't know. They might. It's crazy how a team plays well for a month, then loses a couple games, bad losses, and all of a sudden everybody thinks they're in trouble again. Edwards, your best Wolves play this week, 3 games, 36 minutes, 48 out 10. Of course, he can pop. 1.3. He's improved this year quite a bit on his overall production levels, turning into one of the stars of the league for sure, but not yet at that MVP level. And he's pretty far down the sheet. So, yes, Minnesota, 3 games. No to any really obvious, huge values here with everybody healthy. All right, so those are your games for today. I hope that helps make some decisions. Of course, we're not going to have news on tomorrow's games or anything until probably well after lock today, if it's going to be at 12:30 local time, 1:30 Eastern. So let's build and hope we get it right. All right, thanks for watching.